All right, there we go. Welcome, folks. Yeah, I like to play music at the beginning of my live streams just to, as Sean says, kind of stay awake. But I should have checked that music a little more thoroughly this morning. I like techno stuff, and so I just thought it'd be good. But okay, there we go. Welcome. Hey, so if you don't know me, I'm Lon Schiffbauer, and I'm the host creator. It's on that side, Lon. It's over there. I'm Nutshell Brainery, and I am so glad to have you aboard today. This is a new experiment for me, this live stream series that I'm putting together. Over the next 12 weeks, I will be streaming about different aspects of business philosophy, why we do things the way we do, and is it even the right way to do it anymore? I don't have to tell you how much business and life and technology and social movements have changed over, heck, the years, let alone the decades or the centuries. And so it's a good thing for us to every once in a while pause and go, why do we do it that way? And is it the right way to do it at all? So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 12 weeks. But now this means that we need to first have an understanding of the difference between facts, opinions, and beliefs. Because, all three are awesome. All three are awesome. Write that down, right? Facts are amazing. Opinions are tremendous. Beliefs are sublime. We love them all. The problem is, sometimes we kind of get them a little mixed up. And as we start to look at why we do things the way we do things, why we make the decisions we make, and why we engage in business the way we do, what we're really doing is expressing facts, opinions, and beliefs. And if we're going to do this right, we need to understand the difference. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today in this little live stream. So let's jump right into it. Let's first talk about facts. All right, let's define a fact. It's right there. A fact is something that can be objectively verified as true or false based on empirical evidence. All right, let's break that down a little bit. Objectively verified. That means looking at it from the outside without bias and the things that we're going to talk about with opinions and beliefs and so forth, but objective from the outside without bias. And empirical evidence, we are talking about the scientific method here. We are talking about things that are clearly observable, measurable, repeatable. We know it's a fact because it's right there. We've seen it, we've measured it, we've established it. Okay, that's great. That's great. But now hold on. Let me give you an example. And this is an example that is dear to me. Okay? This is my live stream. I get to do what I want. And so I'm going to talk about an example that's dear to me. Department meetings. I'm a faculty member at Salt Lake Community College, and so I talk about department meetings, faculty meetings, but the same thing could be said when I worked in the corporate sector at Intel Corporation, when we'd have business meetings and department meetings as well. Okay, so I submit to you that a fact is when a person arrives to a department meeting after the agreed upon scheduled time, the scheduled start time, they are considered late. Now, this is pretty darn easy to measure. We have a time, a agreed upon start time, and somebody walks into a room. This is observable and measurable. And when they walk into the room after the agreed upon start time, we define that through our language as late. That's an empirical fact right there. Okay, that's fine. But now here's the thing with facts, folks. Even something that can be objectively verified as true or false is based on imperfect measurement tools and filtered through our senses. So let me talk about this for a moment. And I'm going to come on over here. Let's take the example that I just offered with the person arriving late, right? Well, we know they're late because I have a watch right here. You're late. Well, is your watch correct? I mean, sure it's correct. Well, okay, fine, but who said it? How did you set it? How is it being maintained? And time itself is actually kind of a fiction that we make up. There's no such thing as time. There's no such thing as space. It's actually space-time. And truth is, if you are in motion at all, you are affecting how time passes in incredibly, horribly minuscule ways. But the point is, how we observe and measure time, well, that's based on our ability to perceive time. And all of our senses are imperfect. So when I was a kid, I'd watch these documentaries. It was about the only way I could connect with my father. We like to watch documentaries together. And the documentary would say, this is what a flower looks like to a bee. And this is what a flower looks like to a dog. And they'd show all these different ways and so forth. And I even thought as a kid, well, then what does a flower really look like? Now, you and I just kind of assume, or at least I'll say that my young kid self just assumed that the way I see the flower, that's what it looks like. Well, not really. All we're really seeing is the light reflecting off of that flower. And furthermore, we can only see a narrow band of the light spectrum. So if we were looking at it through infrared, the flower would look differently because in the infrared end of the light spectrum, it looks different. And my wife, she works in X-ray, and X-ray is on the light spectrum. So when she takes a picture of a flower in an X-ray, it looks different. It's what the flower really looks like, but on a different light spectrum. So we can't even measure what a flower looks like, okay? Yeah, it got kicked off really cosmic. Thanks, Christy. So here's the thing. Facts are great. We love facts, okay? Observable, measurable through the scientific method, empirical evidence. We love facts. But we have to understand that even facts are imperfect because they are filtered through our ability to observe and measure. Okay, great. All right, then let's keep going. What about an opinion? Well, now, an opinion is a subjective judgment we hold about something based on how we perceive and interpret the fact. Okay, so here's the idea. We observe a fact, all right? We see it there. We understand the fact, but now we have to interpret our perception of that fact. Remember, we don't know exactly because of our ability to measure and so on and so forth. And then we also have life experiences and we have we've been taught in our culture and so on and so forth. And so we process the fact through these filters and interpret what it means to us. Okay, so here's an example. Remember the one close to me? Meetings. When somebody arrives late to a business meeting, they are prioritizing their own individual needs above those of the collective. Now, that's my opinion, all right? So let's say that you arrive late to a business meeting that I and several other people are waiting for you in. When you arrive late, we've established that's a fact. My interpretation of that fact is that you have prioritized your needs above the needs of all of us because we're sitting around and waiting. Okay? Now, these are malleable. Let's continue on. I used to teach that opinions are like belly buttons. Everyone's got one, and they're pretty useless. I have since changed my position. I have changed my opinion regarding opinions, to get meta for a moment, okay? Opinions are, in fact, tremendously important. Opinions, how we perceive and interpret all the facts, are at the core of how we make sense of the world, formulate hypotheses, and predict the future. We need opinions to make sense of the world and to continue to grow and thrive in our lives. Opinions are core. So the past me that said, oh, they're like belly buttons, he was wrong, in my opinion. All right. Now, another thing about opinions, folks, is they're fluid. They're really fluid. They can change on a dime. Opinions can change when exposed to new insights, shifting perspectives, or external inputs such as new experiences, discussions, or evidence. So let's take, for example, somebody who comes late, right, to a meeting. In my opinion, is that, okay, let's say you came late. You came late to a business meeting where we were all waiting for you. My opinion is that you prioritized your own needs above ours. Well, now you offer new information. You say, well, actually, not really. I was in another meeting where my boss would not let me go. And even though the boss was running late, I had no choice. I was stuck in that meeting. So now my opinion changes. It's not you who prioritized your needs over the collective. It's your boss who prioritized their needs over ours, and you are a victim as much as I am. So now my opinion changes, right? Yeah, Ethan, you're right. You're right. They changed the most. Personal opinions, what we like and what we don't like. For example, I used to hate yard work. Oh my holy hell. I hated yard work so much, words could not sufficiently express my loathing for the activity. But then I thought one day, like Ethan points out, I thought, you know what? As a homeowner, I've got a yard. I'm stuck with a yard, so I have a choice. I can either decide to be miserable my entire existence as a homeowner, or I can learn to love yard work and be happy in that role. And that's what I've done. I'm not saying I love it every single time, and I look forward to autumn because that's when I can pull back on it just a little bit. But they're fluid, right? Personal opinions, very fluid in that way. Okay, great. So that's an opinion. But now let's talk about beliefs, all right? Belief is a deep and abiding moral precept, one that is core to our identity and directs our actions and values. Beliefs define who we are. The decisions we make, the feelings we have, the values we hold, how we view ourselves in this world is really embedded in our beliefs. So while opinions are pretty fluid, beliefs, not so much. I'm not saying they can't change. They can. But it's a Herculean thing to change a belief. So, for example, a belief that I hold, all right? This is a belief that I hold. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's a fact. It's a belief. Someone who is chronically late to business meetings is selfish, inconsiderate, and worthy of my naked contempt. I hold to this belief, folks. I just become apoplectic when somebody is chronically late to business meetings that we've all agreed upon, and worse still, they walk in as these martyrs saying, "Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late. Oh, I was caught up in this and that. I'm so important and so busy. But now that I'm here, you can now begin." Oh my gosh. Do you see me getting animated? And trust me, I am restraining myself. That's a belief. It is really, really core to who we are. Now, I'm not saying the belief is quote unquote true. It's not a fact that the person is selfish and inconsiderate. It doesn't make sense that I would believe this so passionately and express such vitriol, but it's a belief. Beliefs don't have to make sense. They are just something we hold dear to us. Okay? All right. So now, beliefs are often expressed in today's world, especially in today's world of social media where we can just type something out real quick. They're often expressed in dogma. Now, a dogma is something set down by an authority and accepted by a group as incontrovertibly true and without room for doubt or questioning. When an authority sets forth a dogma, they're saying, "I have bestowed upon you a universal truth, and you don't question it, you just live your life by it," okay? Now, dogma is often associated with religion, but religion is by no means the only system or institution that trades and trucks with dogma, okay? So religion, political ideologies, cultural norms, education systems, media, corporations, government, social movements, everybody works in dogmas, okay? So let me give you an example of dogma in education. Many of you joining today are students at Salt Lake Community College, or perhaps you have been a student somewhere else, and you know this dogma. You need a liberal arts education full of gen ed classes to be a well-rounded, educated person. This dogma permeates Western, I shouldn't say Western, I can't speak for other countries as much as I used to be able to. It's been a while since I've worked in that, so I will say American. It permeates the American, the U.S. education system, which is why you end up spending 2 years of your 4-year degree taking gen ed courses, right? Perhaps the course that you're taking with me, although it's not gen ed, but it's required for your major because we think you need to be a well-rounded individual, and gen ed is how you do this. We want to create the Renaissance person who can have an interesting conversation on any topic for 10 minutes at a cocktail party. Yay, go team, right? Jasmine says, let's broadcast around the USA. Got to remind people of the difference between beliefs and fact. And Jasmine, yes, that's what we're working on today, right? Really understanding the difference here. Now, this is in the education system. This is my world, right? But we see dogmas all over. So, for example, conservative dogmas that we hear are free markets, free of government interference, lead to the best outcomes. This is something that then leads to things like charter schools and privatization of industries and so on and so forth. Traditional family values are the foundation of society. This is a dogma that is felt very deeply. Remember, these are beliefs, and beliefs are beautiful and sublime. We do not disbelieve here. But these are examples of conservative dogmas that kind of drive a belief system. Now, of course, on the progressive side, we have the same thing. Gender identity and expression should be fully supported and affirmed. This is a dogma that is held very near and dear, almost a sacrosanct level to the progressive movement. Systematic racism is pervasive and requires structural change. Now, here's one of the interesting things about a dogma. If you are a person who is strongly ensconced, strongly identifies with one side or the other, then when you see a dogma of your own worldview, such as if you're into education, you'd look at the dogma around Gen Ed and go, well, yeah, I mean, that's just obvious. We need a Gen Ed education. Or if a conservative sees the dogma about a free market system, it's like, yeah, I mean, that's why capitalism works. That's why free market works. That's why democracy works. Why are we even challenging that? And yet, if you look at a dogma from the other side of the aisle or any discussion, you look at it and you almost feel your skin crawling because you are so off the mark. How can you believe that? You need to let go of that. You need to look at other conditions. You need to understand the bigger picture. In other words, our own beliefs feel, oh, so beautiful and gorgeous, including my own. I have beliefs. And the beliefs of others, we're just like, what the hell? How can you think that? This is why beliefs can be pretty darn strong in this way. Okay? So, with that, let's talk about this for a minute. Opinions and beliefs often assert themselves as facts, and yet sometimes facts are belittled as opinions and beliefs. In other words, we mix these things up. As Jasmine said, we mix them up. Got to remind us of the difference. And I don't say people because I put myself in this group. We need to remind ourselves of the difference between facts, opinions, and beliefs, right? Okay. But it's tricky. Let's go ahead and, oh, wrong slide. There we go. Let's go ahead and look at our favorite controversial issue, abortion. Okay? Now, I want to be really clear. We're not going to solve it here. All right? We are going to look at the issue of abortion through the lens of facts, opinions, and beliefs. And I am not going to try to change or modify it. We are just looking at it through this lens. Okay? So check this out. Here's some abortion facts or facts around development of life. Okay? Hey, here's a fact. You get a mommy's egg and you get a daddy's sperm, and the sperm fertilizes the egg. That's a scientific fact. We can do that. We've seen it done a lot. There are 8 billion people on this planet, and they've all resulted from an egg and a sperm. It's a fact. This creates a fertilized egg called a zygote. I Googled this morning to find out what it was actually called and how to pronounce it, so I'm smart now. All right, so you got a fertilized egg. That's a zygote. Okay, that's a fact. Eventually, this zygote will metastasize. There we go. Metastasize, is that the word? Somebody Google metastasize, meaning the cells divide. All those cells are going to divide and you're going to get a multicellular embryo, right? And eventually some of these cells, it's really kind of cool, will take on different roles and different jobs. And at some point, some of these cells will become heart cells, and they will start to beat. Oh my gosh, it's amazing, right? So you will start to have a beating heart in this fetus now, no longer an embryo. At some point, an embryo becomes a fetus. I don't know the fact around that, but I do know that a heartbeat starts. Okay. At a certain point also, this fetus is what we would call viable outside the womb, meaning if the fetus is taken from the womb too early, it will not survive. It needs the womb to survive. But at a certain point, it can survive outside the womb. So you can go ahead and, so like maybe in the case of my wife, we had some complications with one of our kids. I don't know. I forget which one. I forget all the deals. I have 5 of them. How am I supposed to remember my kids? Come on, give me a break. And so we induced. So it was like a month early, viable outside the womb. You're good. Okay. These are facts, okay? But now let's look at opinions, because remember, an opinion is how we perceive a fact, all right? So there is the opinion that human life begins at conception. That's a strong opinion out there. And I want to be clear, all the opinions I'm about to express, they're supportable. That's a supportable opinion, because that little cell, that fertilized egg, that is a living cell. And as it starts to divide and so on and so forth, it's alive. Okay, it's alive. Now, others will say, though, there's a difference between alive and a human life. Okay, this is an opinion. This is how we perceive the facts. So somebody else might say, okay, listen, I'm not prepared to say that this one single cell is a human life. I'm not prepared to go there. But listen, when that heart starts beating, that's when somebody would say, that's what I define as a human life. We have a beating heart, right? And that's a powerful thing. I mean, you probably saw me getting a little welled up because I've seen my kids, I've seen the beating heart through the ultrasound. It's like, dang, that's pretty cool. But notice somebody else could say, why the heart? I mean, okay, I get that a beating heart is cool, but why aren't we saying as soon as the fetus has a pancreas, it's a human life? Or when it has an intestinal tract, it's a human life? Why are we fixated on the heart? It's just another organ. And because, hearts are poetic. I mean, we express love through the heart. We express religious ecstasy through the heart. We express life and blood through the heart. I mean, the heart holds a reverent position in our culture. And the pancreas, to my knowledge, doesn't hold a similar position. So we say the human heart. Well, somebody else might say, yeah, I'm not quite prepared to call that a human life yet. I, posit, says somebody else, that it's a human life once it is viable outside the womb. Once this fetus can live outside, then you can call it a human life. Now, Karen points out you can't live without a heartbeat. Agreed. But now check this out. You can live with an artificial heart, as in you can live with artificial lungs. You can live with artificial liver. You can live with an artificial digestive, whatever, right? And I could include on this list brain function, but you can live without brain function. And then this belief comes into play, Karen, when we talk about what does it mean to live? If somebody is if somebody only has a brain stem and is attached to an artificial heart and an artificial liver and is not conscious and is brain dead, is that alive? Now, I want to be clear, you're talking about facts. Here's a brainstem. Here's a missing heart. Here's a missing liver, right? Here are missing lungs. And so we attach to these machines. These are the facts. Whether we call this alive It's alive. It's clearly alive. Is it a worthy human life? Would we want to live like this? This is why some people say, no, DNR, do not resuscitate. If I'm in an accident and I don't have function, DNR, do not resuscitate, let me go. Other people have similar right to say, absolutely, that's a worthy life. That is a life that has been given. It is not for us to question the value of a life. Which then brings me to beliefs. There are many beliefs that are often expressed in dogma, right? All life is sacred is a belief that we hear. A right to life, my body, my choice. Abortion is health care. These are all beliefs. And remember, they're kind of core to who we are, right? And how we think. So you can see here in this example that we can all agree on the facts. The facts are pretty clear. But then how we interpret these facts to form our opinions, and then how they all bump up against and juxtapose with our beliefs, it gets messy. And furthermore, it can change. I'm old. Check it out. And so I've been around long enough that my opinions on something such as abortion has changed and evolved and so forth. Opinions definitely more so. As Ethan pointed out earlier, those can change pretty easily. Beliefs, I think my beliefs have changed somewhat, but they're pretty solid, right? But they've evolved. I won't say they've changed. I will say they have evolved, okay? So what does this all mean for us? Well, it means that as we go forward in this live stream series, we want to practice critical thinking. Now, when I say practice critical thinking, I am not saying throw out beliefs, throw out opinions, and look only at facts. Remember, I said earlier, and I will reiterate again, facts are marvelous, opinions are fantastic, beliefs are sublime. We want we need all three. To function and thrive as a human community, you need all three. But what we really need, as Jasmine pointed out, is we need to understand the difference. And critical thinking is what helps us do this. So over the next little while, first part of critical thinking that we're going to be exercising is the practice of improving the quality of our thinking by analyzing, assessing, and reconstructing our thoughts. This is what we did with the issue of abortion, okay? Now, notice I didn't say, we solved the problem. we didn't do that at all. What we did was we better understand the problem. Okay? And it's by understanding why we have this conflict internally, that it's by understanding it that we can then kind of assess and figure out where we really stand. As the title of this podcast, we're on a live stream here right now. Who does your thinking for you? Are our opinions our opinions? What did we base them on? Are our beliefs, or were they handed down from our parents or our culture? Nothing wrong with beliefs and opinions from our parents and our culture, but at some point we need to look at it and say, is it ours? Is this really what I think? And own it for ourselves. Because for the most part, everything we think and believe has been handed down or developed through experience and things like that. Critical thinking helps us take the moment necessary to look at it and say, is this mine? Christy says, agreed, also possibly an understanding that my resolve is the same as others. Very nice. Yes. Christina. Sorry, Christina. I've been calling you Christy. It's Christina. Number 2, critical thinking is not about finding thinking errors in others, but rather ourselves, okay? It is self-directed, self-disciplined, self-monitored, and self-corrective thinking. Critical thinking is not about trolling others and saying your opinions are jacked up, you're not basing them on facts, your beliefs make no sense, and so on and so forth. It's about looking at our facts, opinions, and beliefs and going, do they line up? Am I approaching this correctly? Okay, and bringing further quality to our ability to look at a problem and solve it, which is what business is all about. Third, last part. In general terms, it is a commitment to overcome our natural egocentrism and sociocentrism. We're going to end on this, and this is an important one to end on. Egocentrism basically says, listen, you want to think you're right. You really want to think you're right. I mean, it's really important for us to love ourselves, by the way. Just so you know, for those of you playing at home, it's important that you consider yourself a good, moral, worthy, intelligent person. You need to believe that, okay, in order to be healthy and be a thriving member of the community. And so I invite you to embrace your own awesomeness. That said, that awesomeness, that ego, can get in the way of our thinking. Are we holding on to a thought because we've really thought it out and critically analyzed it and have come to the conclusion that for us this is the right opinion? Or is it because we just hate the idea that we're wrong? And when we are faced with the possibility that we are wrong, we respond by losing our shite, right? So that's egocentrism. Sociocentrism is we really want to make sure that we are accepted into our various communities, our tribes, if you will. And once again, psychologically, this is uber important. It is important for you to feel a sense of worth and belonging in your various communities. And so it is natural for us to change, amend, and evolve our opinions and beliefs to match those of the community so that there's as little discord inside of that community as possible. However, that also means that if you are faced with the possibility that maybe something needs to be rethought, but that thing is like a dogma of belief in your community, you may be hesitant to really look at it critically. So if you come from a very liberal family, but you're starting to look at conservative leanings, you may be disinclined to accept conservative arguments because of you have a place in this liberal bastion. Same thing goes if you grow up in a conservative environment and your tribe and your family is conservative and you're looking at progressive leanings and going, I kind of see some sense in that. I should be looking that direction. You may be disinclined to allow those thoughts into your life because they jeopardize your place in your community. This is sociocentrism. So we're going to look at these things as we go about this live stream series and kind of see how can we make the world better in the future by better understanding why things are now and examining them and challenging them and interrogating them critically. Okay. Folks, there you go. I told you these things would be around 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes, and we just hit 40 minutes. So there you go. I'm hoping we can keep that pretty consistent. If you have any questions or comments, absolutely drop them in the chat there and let's play. Otherwise, I really thank all of you for coming and for participating in this. So, thank you. This is an experiment, and I'm actually going to follow up with a few of you to see what you thought of this experiment, and I'll ask you some questions around it. So thanks a lot. Let's see how it goes. Sean, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and do ourselves. And Karen, thank you very much. Canyon, hey, Trish, thank you very much. Trista. Alexa, thanks a lot. We'll see you all later. Hey, Daniel, we'll see ya. Daniela. Jasmine, see you next time. Love it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump on in there. Otherwise, we're good. Yeah, and send me an email. Tell me you were here. And like I said, I'm going to follow up with a few of you. I need feedback. All right, well, I don't see much happening, so I will go ahead and end. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day.